Hello and welcome to Salt and Light Canning. I'm Jessica. This is my kitchen. I'm happy that you're here. Today we are going to be making a hamburger soup. It's winter canning, so I make soups and beans and those kinds of things because in the summer when things are coming in out of your garden, you don't have time to do meat and beans and soups and things like that. So today we're making one of my family's favorites, and RG found a toy and she's having all the fun. Today we're making one of my family's favorites, which is a hamburger soup. So I have browned my hamburger right here and I'm going to get it in this pot. Now anytime you are canning hamburger, you're going to need to brown it. Even if you're just doing plain hamburger and you're canning plain, well, any kind of plain ground meat, you're going to need to brown it. I have washed my vegetables and I'm going to get them peeled and chopped and put into this pot. So I have celery, onions, carrots, and potatoes today. I'll also be adding some canned tomatoes, and it's just going to be really delicious. So I'm going to get these peeled and cut up and in my pot. What kind of soups do you like? Let me know in the description. What's your favorite soup? I am finding that I personally prefer more tomato-based soups, but you know what? Some people really like just chicken soup or just a vegetable soup, and when you're canning, you can make it however you want. I take soup with me to work. It's great to have ready for a lunch. This way I know what went in it, but also it saves me money because the cost of the ingredients isn't very much. The beef we got, as you know, we had a cow butchered and we got beef that way. But you know, potatoes, we grew some of these potatoes. And then we have the onions and the celery and the carrots, and the overall cost I think is probably about $10 to $15 for this soup. And you can't get a can of, you know, beef vegetable soup in the store. It's about $1 a can. So I know that I'm going to get at least 20 jars, probably more. I tend to get more when I fill up this pot. But we'll see at the end how much it's going to cost. Anyway, I'm just going to keep getting these vegetables prepped and chopped. I'll be back when I'm doing something else. My veggies are chopped up and in the pot with the hamburger, and I'm gonna add some frozen corn and some frozen green beans because that's what I have. Use what you have. When you're making soup and you're canning, use what's available to you, okay? I was asked this week, well, doesn't that take you a lot of time to be canning? And truth of the matter is, if you're gonna make a pot of soup, it doesn't take that much longer to make a big pot of soup than it does to make a smaller pot of soup. And if I make a big pot of soup, then I'm able to can it and I don't have to make it again. So I can make 3 or 4 different soups in the year and can them and have them all through the winter and anytime I need just a quick meal. So food for thought. So I spend a few hours one day making soup, but that few hours will end up lasting me all the way through the winter and any time that I just need a quick meal for my family. All right, so I have my vegetables in here. I add tomato because I like tomato. If you don't, then don't add it. It's that simple. Our goal is not to cook the soup, just to get it heated through. I need to add enough liquid so that the ratio of liquid to solid in my jars is about half solid, half liquid. And that's to ensure that during the canning process that I'm able to get proper heat and flow through the jar to make sure that the heat is conducted through the whole thing and that it's safe. All right, so I added water. Now I'm gonna add some seasoning. You can season your soup however you would like. Obviously, don't do things like milk, don't do rice, don't do pasta in your soup, but seasonings you can do however you would like. So I'm going to add some beef bouillon. One of these days I'll get that right. Beef bouillon, some pepper. Then I like this barbecue seasoning, some granulated onion, granulated garlic. I'm using kosher salt. It's safe for canning. The W kind of sauce, that's what I'm using. And we're gonna get this mixed up and heating. And once it's all heated through and I taste it and it's where we like it, then I'll start getting it in jars. I need some more water though, so I'll add some more water. We'll be back when I'm doing something else. My soup came off the stove. Again, it is not cooked. It's just like heated through. So now we're gonna put this in jars. We use tomatoes because I have tomatoes, and my experience with tomatoes is that they tend to siphon on me. I'm going to make sure that I keep that 1 inch of headspace. I can soups in pint jars because it's my experience if I can them in quart jars, we don't eat them. And I don't want to take all of my time and then have us not eat the food that I canned. So make sure that you're getting plenty of liquid in your jar. Have a good ratio of liquids to solids. You're going to want about 50% solid and 50% liquid. Debubble really well because you have those chunky vegetables and that meat. Now I'm going to wipe the rim of my jar with some vinegar because that's what I always do. I am using all just regular button top lids today because I do give soup away. If I have somebody that's not feeling well or I take extras for lunch, I want to make sure that I'm okay with not taking a reusable lid. So I'm going to do to fingertip tight, and there we go. And on to the next jar. Making soup is a great way also to use up any produce that you might have that might not get eaten in time. So if you make a big pot of soup, then that produce gets used and it saves you money because you won't have any waste. I'm just going to keep filling jars. We'll be back when we're putting them in the canner. Our soup is in the canners, and I have 18 here and 16 here for 34. I also have enough for us to have dinner tonight. So canning your own soup does save you money. I got asked about, do you reuse your jars? Yes, you reuse your jars again and again and again and again until they break. Okay, you never stop using the same jars. I have a lot of jars, but I reuse my jars constantly. In fact, I even have some canning jars that were from my grandma that she used for years and years and years. You reuse your rings. These rings that you tighten down to hold the lid on until it seals, you reuse them again and again and again until they won't go on the jar anymore. It's a tool. And then, so canning is not as expensive as some people think. It can be a little pricey just to get started if you have nothing. But even with that, over time, you're going to save so much money that it's absolutely worth it. All right, I'm going to get my lids on. We're going to process at 15 pounds of pressure for my altitude for 1 hour. That's 60 minutes. That's for the can any soup. Just so you know, all soup does need to be pressure canned. Even tomato soup. Okay, someone just said, well, what about tomato soup? I know you did. All soup needs to be pressure canned. And you can find this pressure canner. This is a 23-quart Presto pressure canner in my Amazon storefront in the description below. I have had this for many, many years. I don't even know. Never had any issues. I absolutely love my Presto pressure canner. And like I've said before, if you're only going to buy one, absolutely buy a pressure canner because you can use it for both. Highly, highly recommend the Presto pressure canner. It even worked on my glass top stove before I got the gas range. Loved it. Loved it. Such a blessing. So anyways, check out the Amazon storefront in the description below. But I'm going to let these do what they need to do and come up to pressure and process my soup for 1 hour. And I'll be back when I'm taking them out of the canner. Well, our canners have come down off of pressure. And we had dinner. We had soup for dinner and it was wonderful. But I'm ready to take them out. As always, make sure you're grabbing on the glass. These are just going, and they're already sealing. I love that sound. It's the best sound. These are just going to sit here on my counter and relax and seal and have a good night. And tomorrow I will take off the rings and wash them and label them and put them in the pantry. Be so blessed. Know that you're loved and be a blessing to someone else. And hey, you know what? Maybe check out that link in the description for my Amazon store. Buy a canner, get started. Or buy a dog toy. That's where RG got hers.